The sport of Muay Thai been one of my favorite sports for sure. I mean, you have incredibly deadly strikers getting in there and doing their thing. I have one of my favorite Muay Thai fighters, Anthony, the body snatcher Ford. Just the body snatcher alone, you won me over. But then I watched you fight and got to know you a little bit, Anthony. And yeah, nothing but respect, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me back.
Oh man, listen, my pleasure to have you back, and I want to try to educate the fans on Muay Thai and everything, but you've got a fight coming up. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, I got a whole string of fights coming up. I'm actually going to be leaving for Europe here in about another 9 days. I've got a fight March 18th in Vienna, Austria. I'll be fighting Manuel Sambera, who's an up-and-coming European fighter. That'll be a good one. Then I'll be fighting in Germany in May. And then I have an 8-man tournament that I'm doing in the Czech Republic in June. So it's pretty one thing right after another. And I'm even hoping to get one or two more fights in there while I'm over there. Just trying to stay real busy and stay active and try and just completely make use of my time over there in regards to competition and experience.
Well, so you're like a rock star on tour, except you don't party, you just perform.
But exactly, I'm going to go train over there. I'll be training at a couple of gyms in Austria. I'm going to try and make it over to Holland, train there a little bit. Just try and completely make as much use of my time there as I possibly can, and try and do the business.
Well, hey, I'm curious. Is the training different when you get over to Holland or to those areas of the country where kickboxing, K1, Muay Thai, all that is heavy?
Oh yeah, it's very, very, very different, than how we train here in Canada. It's very different than a lot of the gyms I've trained at in the United States. Now, there are some great exceptions to that rule, and these are the gyms that are producing our champions here, But in general, there is a big difference between the gyms in Europe that are producing champions and the gyms in Thailand, Japan, and China that are producing champions, or Australia, and the ones here. And some of that is just, cultural. Some of that is misconceptions of how people should be training. But that's one of the reasons why I feel like we don't have more and more and more people competing at that higher level. The gyms here that do hold their athletes to that standard are the gyms that are putting out champions.
Yeah.
When we do have gyms that push people to that level, they excel. But we have a lot of in-betweens, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's an extremely tough sport, obviously, if we have talked about. But also, there's no shortcuts.
No.
If you want to be, I mean, you are the best in the world. So you're fighting, guys that are as good as you. You are on the same level. Some have got belts that you're looking to get.
You bet. Or I'm fighting guys that, frankly, are better than me, and I just might out-tough them, or whatever the case may be. I have to be able to put as much as I can possibly put into it, and that means no shortcuts. That means diet. That means training. That means my road work. That means mental coaching.
Yeah.
That means everything. Everything has got to be in play. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
That's right, and it's got to be difficult now because you're going from your home in Canada to these other cultures where food is different, where everything is different. Have you done this enough where you have kind of become accustomed to the food and the changes that way, or is it still a struggle?
Sometimes it's hard to find food. Sometimes it's hard to deal with things. I've traveled so much with fighting, like we talked last time, I've never even fought in my own country.
Wow.
I've always been the away guy, right? I've never had home rink advantage ever.
Yeah.
So So I'm used to that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's fine, and you show up, you got your head screwed on right, and you go and you do really good, and you feel strong, and sometimes you show up and, not so good,
Yeah.
like, something was, you didn't rest or whatever.
Just not your best night. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's just about, like, I think at this point in my career, it's more about, like, trying to minimize those days and trying to, like, make sure that I can perform at my best, and try and make sure that I know, like, okay, well, hey, don't take stupid fights at wrong weight classes, like I've done a lot,
Well, the experience, and you learn yourself. You learn your body and what you can and can't do, and you become a smarter fighter. You use that experience as a tool, as a weapon.
Exactly. It's all just a learning process for me at least. I as I go along, I pick up more. I become a more efficient athlete. I learn more about my diet. I learn more about even my technique. I learn more about how to mentally prepare myself for my fights. Even how to be more efficient in the corner.
Yeah.
Where I have my time to be able to listen to instruction, and I have time to be able to think about what I'm doing, and I have better recovery times, all sorts of stuff. There's always room for improvement everywhere.
Well, for me, the thing always, when you're in the corner with a fighter, or if you're the fighter in the corner, for me it was always about trying to calm and slow the heart, just to relax, to get that time and speak that way, right? All of a sudden I become this guy, Anthony, I'm talking to you this way, right? And to me that was always really important, because it's so easy to transfer that anxiety and stress and maybe concern, panic from a coach right into a fighter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think every athlete responds differently to different stimuli, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I like that. I like a guy who's going to be like, all right, listen, calm, take a deep breath. Listen, this is what we're doing. Pay attention. Get back to your game plan. Look, this is working, this isn't working, whatever. I have had my own fighters where, like, I almost got to slap them up the side of the head and be like,
motivate.
Like, where the fuck do you think you are? Wake up.
The fight started.
Exactly, and different people respond differently to different things. A really great example of that actually is actually Greg Jackson. When you watch Greg Jackson in the corner, okay, I don't always agree with things that he says, but still, when you take a look at how he works from fighter to fighter, you see him in the corner with, like, George St. Pierre, for example, right? He talks to George differently than he talks to Carlos Condit.
Oh, yeah.
Or he talks differently to, yeah, exactly. And it's because different fighters respond differently to different things.
Yeah. Well,
and it's just one of those.
How do you motivate the fighter, right? And that's the personal connection between coach and fighter. And like you said, some fighters do need a kick in the ass, to get going. Hopefully they get that crack in the fight and they're warmed up enough to take it. But a lot of guys need that to get going, and they're slow starters, but the sport is really, there's some misconceptions about Muay Thai. I talk to a lot of fans that when you start to talk Muay Thai, K1, these different sports of striking, the biggest thing for them is, oh, okay, so in K1 there's no elbows, but in Muay Thai there's elbows. What do you think is the biggest misconception out there for the fans?
I think, so here's the thing. So although they're similar, they're very different.
Yes.
Okay? It's like comparing apples to oranges. Okay? They're both fruit, but they're both different. They're different sports, right? So just because you're good at one does not necessarily mean you're going to be good at the other.
It doesn't translate. Yeah,
it doesn't always translate, right? Because Thai boxing, Muay Thai has a very specific rhythm to it, right? You tend to start fairly slow. There's clinching. There's a lot of sweeps. There's a lot of like little things that are done with our hands and like little positional things that we do that frankly just don't work in K1. And the reason why we do them is because there's elbows, there's knees, there's clinching, right? When you take those things away, you have to adjust, right? So now boxing comes into play a lot more. Okay, footwork, movements comes into play a lot more. So it's just different, you know. Like kickboxing, which like to me K1 is kickboxing, and Muay Thai, they're similar, but only in that we kick and punch each other, and that's about where it ends.
Well, you're trying to knock the opponent out. You have different weapons to use. Now, see, for me, what I would always hear about Muay Thai is, with Muay Thai, it's more of a straightforward, straight back fighting style. You don't have as much angle fighting, as much footwork like in boxing, or maybe even in K1. Now, that to me, the fights I've been watching has changed.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. There's a lot of misconceptions when they say there's no head movement in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
That is false. That's just not true. You know, maybe if you watch two guys that don't know really what they're doing, yeah, they're just going to stand there and bang on each other, you know, but like, you know, when you watch high-level Muay Thai, you're going to see head movement, right?
Yep.
Like, watch, you know, guys like Liam Harrison. Watch guys like Kevin Ross. Yeah. An American Kevin Ross.
He's tough.
Yeah, exactly. You go tell Kevin Ross there's no head movement in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Because he is all over, like, he's moves, he's here. Right? Yeah. You tell Tiffany Van Soos that there's no footwork in Thai boxing.
Very good example right there, because that blows it out of the water. One of the things that I really love about Muay Thai that is so deadly, and I've always wondered, you don't see this in MMA, but the spinning elbows in Muay Thai, the timing, the precision, and the power of some of these shots is incredible.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you know, we see guys, you know, people use them in MMA and stuff like that, but, you know, when you're going to see them in their mastery, you're going to see them in Thai boxing.
Yeah.
And, you know, and throwing them in proper angles and knowing how to connect. You know, there's some great guys that throw some pretty nice spinning back elbows. You know, there's a couple of guys that fight for Lions Fight.
That's like, you just took the words out of my mouth.
You know, Gaston, Bolaños. I'm trying to remember his name.
Yeah.
If he's watching, sorry, bro.
Was there a Sasa prop or?
Sassy prop, yeah. So you got Malapet.
Yeah.
Dude, Malapet spinning back elbow you in the face before you even know what's going on.
The timing. The timing for me is that shows something totally different. The reason you don't see this in MMA is the timing. It's not developed like in Muay Thai, and
well, it's like comparing chess to checkers, right? It's not the same thing, right? Like one thing that drives me is a personal pet peeve is when people try and compare what we do to MMA, and the reason why is because they're so different. Now you may use tools that you learned in Muay Thai in MMA, but that's about where it ends, right?
Well, because of the style, you're not able to fight a Muay Thai style in MMA. You know, maybe because of the ground, maybe because of the takedown, a lot of reasons, but you're talking about guys that are training in multiple disciplines, and as opposed to, you know, a Floyd Mayweather, who his entire life is boxing, hands, head movement, footwork, same thing in Muay Thai.
Exactly. We're specialists in our field, right? It's like, you know, if you sit there and like you take you take an MMA fighter or a good MMA fighter, you know, like let's say, I don't know, we always talk about George, so let's talk about George again, right? So George is not the best striker. He's just not.
No.
Okay? Now, is he very good at it? Yeah, you bet he is. Okay? Now, is George the best wrestler? No, because if he was the best wrestler, he'd be gone to the Olympics.
No.
Okay? Is he the best jiu-jitsu guy? No, he's not, because if he was, he'd be doing jiu-jitsu, right? Now, what he is good at Okay, and what these other guys, like even who's he about to fight? He's about to fight the British guy. What the heck is his name? Bisbing.
Yeah, yeah.
Bisbing too, right?
Right.
But, they're both good. Like, listen, it's not that they're the best guys at all these different things. They're good enough at each individual thing. What makes them champions and what makes them elite is the ability to put them together.
That's exactly it. It's
right?
a well-rounded skill set that you can transition seamlessly and go from grappling to wrestling to striking, and you're exactly right.
But listen, you take them and you throw them in the ring, and you just stand them in the ring with a boxer.
Yep.
And you're like, you can only box. They're going to get lumped up.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, that being said, if you said do full MMA rules, that boxer's about to get tossed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well,
now, if you set them in there, you send them in the world, and they're with the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world, they're going to get tied up. It's just going to happen. All right? Same thing. You send them in the ring with, like, a really good Muay Thai guy? No way. There's no way.
Yep.
Right? And it's just because these are specialists at what they do, right?
Well,
they're completely different.
How could you possibly compete with somebody that is focusing their life training on 1 skill, 2 skills, 3 skills versus someone that's, working on 5, 6, 7? And let's not forget that most of the time when you see guys Muay Thai, they start out young Muay Thai. And it's like boxing. So they're doing it their whole life. Like you, Anthony, how old were you when you started?
Well, I actually started quite late.
Yeah.
I didn't start until I was 21 or 22. But I know little kids in Thailand that have as many fights as I do, right? So
that's always
one of those things where I'm like, okay, like for a Canadian, I got a lot of fights.
Yeah.
Right? But compared to a Thai, no way. I fought a guy this last summer in Thailand that had more knockouts in his record than I've had fights.
I always wondered how do they amass this record? It's impressive.
Yeah, but like if you think about it, like how many hockey games did you play?
Yeah, I listen.
Right? Because they look at it like that.
Yeah.
Right? So for us, there's this huge build up and like oh hey, I'm gonna fight in 3 months and and
very
like
true.
You think I'm ready, coach, and then the kid's gonna like pull out 3 or 4 times before he finally fights and blah 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 blah. Whereas there, look, you're fighting all the time, right? Like you're fighting in festivals, you're fighting in all these things. So like even little kids are fighting once a month.
Yeah, and they turn pro at such a young age.
Well, there's no amateur. It's not the same, right? So here we have this thing where we need to there's an amateur system and there's like a way we build people up and all this other stuff. Whereas there, no, if you fight, you fight. That's just what it is. There's there's no shin pads. There's no like, hey, well, are you C class? Okay, well, you got to wear shin pads and headgear. And, like, there's none of that there.
Get in the ring.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
But that's why they wind up with all these fights. They're just like, all right, yeah, go fight.
See, I really have to say, man, from a fan's point of view, watching the best strikers in the world, for me, you're going to see it in Muay Thai, in K1, in these sports. And I talked to you earlier about leg kicks and stuff. It's just shocking to me, the mental ability, the mental strength, and make no mistake about it, that's what it is. Yes, maybe your leg gets numb after it's kicked so many times, but listen, it is mental toughness, and that translates into any sport of combat. So you do see a lot of fighters do well coming in from, Alistair Overeem, good example. He was, champ at every level, basically, from kickboxing to pride to, he put it together. But I'll tell you something. 1 second. I don't know what happened there.
Uh-oh.
That's all right. I will just patch this in. Oh, it ran over my time. Damn it, I put a marker on it. That's okay. But I'll tell you something. You do see killers in there, and it is shocking to see the shots they can deliver, but what they can absorb too. And it's never boring. You don't see a boring Muay Thai or a boring K1 fight. Muay Thai might start out slow, but even that's changing, you know. Now, let me ask you, how can the fans, are any of the fights that are coming up, are they going to be televised where we can connect the fans to the fights, Anthony?
I believe they will be. To be honest with you, I don't know how to get all the stuff because it's in Europe.
Yeah.
So I'll be putting a stream up, so you'll be able to find a way to watch it. You just have to connect with me on Facebook.
Get that to Instagram. Get that to me, Anthony, and I will get it out to the masses. I'll put it on the website as well.
Perfect.
I want the fans to see what's going on in Muay Thai because, I mean, it's impossible to be a fan of combat and not just sit there and love Muay Thai. I mean, it's impossible.
Of course.
Again, sponsors, shout outs. Anybody you want to say hi to?
Oh, tons of people. Hold on here. Just let me get you a little look there. My fancy schmancy T-shirt. There.
Nice.
Yeah, I know, right? Shameless self promotion there.
Hey.
To Weapon Fight Gear, who have been very very kind to me. I'd like to thank USANA Health Sciences. And Team USANA, who've been a great supplement sponsor for me. They also sponsor the Canadian and U.S. Olympic teams.
Nice.
They also sponsor Bradley and Pacquiao and those guys as well. But they've been absolutely wonderful to me and making sure I've got everything I need for my weight cut and all that kind of wonderful stuff. I'd like to thank Tiki Town Tattoos in Calgary, Alberta. For making me look all tough and badass and stuff.
Nice.
Because it's hard to have this
pretty face.
Pretty face and look intimidating. So they've done a pretty good job of helping me out.
Nice.
And then I'd also like to thank First Dibs Multimedia and Marketing with Wayne over there at First Dibs. He's done an absolute smash up job in regards to helping kind of bringing my personal marketing up to a reasonable level. Because I'll tell you, dude, if I didn't like I have no idea how to use a computer. Okay, I can check my Facebook.
Yep.
I know how to watch YouTube videos, and that's about where it stops.
But you know how to fight.
I can punch people really good.
Yes, you can. And Wayne is doing a killer. Wayne is doing a killer job and getting a suntan at the same time. So.
Definitely. And then I also need to do a quick shout out to the people here at Guelph MMA who have taken me in as where I'm running my camp.
Beautiful.
I'd like to thank Sebastian and Wolfgang, who are my coaches here. Been doing an absolutely smash-up job getting me ready for these fights, and we're more than ready.
See, it's really important to get the sponsors out there and to give them some publicity because at the end of the day, and I sponsor sometimes as well, I used to all the time, it is really important. And a lot of people don't realize it, but it is. And I have to always make sure that we take time out to give the sponsors the respect because they do give you the ability to train and do it at the level that you do. And man, I'm always open to have you on, Anthony. You are the body snatcher. You're a killer, but you're one hell of a man. I respect you, and I really look forward to seeing you over here in the States doing some butt kicking real soon.
Thank
soon.
you, sir.
And listen, you got to stay in touch and let me help connect with the fans so they have the ability to check everything out. And listen.
I'm a Facebook message away.
There you go. So there you go, guys. You have to check out Anthony, the Body Snatcher Ford. What's your Twitter and Facebook handle?
That's a good question. I think you know what? I don't know, but we'll find it and get it to you.
I will find it and I'll post it up before I produce this video out, so it'll be right here in a little wish box for you, and we'll have all of that out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, man, thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on. I look forward to talking to you after your fights. Maybe we can do a little Skype from over there in Europe. I hear Germany is just blowing up on the combat scene.
Oh, Europe's always been big, but yeah. It's looking good. I'm looking forward to these shows.
Well, hey, guys, for Modern Pugilist Entertainment, for Fight TV, and for my man, Anthony the Body Snatcher Ford, I'm Dan Cox. Thank you so much. We will see you next time.